Welcome to the Savvy Ladies Wednesday Wisdom webinar. I'm Maggie Montemuro and I'm the Marketing Manager at Savvy Ladies. If you have a question during the webinar, please type it into the chat box. If you're joining us by phone, email your question to info@savvyladies.org. Today's presenter is Michele Risa, a certified conscious business agent, mindfulness expert, and wellness practitioner. Michele is also a speaker and co-author of Conscious Entrepreneurs, a radical new approach to purpose, passion, and profit. Her daily practice of heart coherence reflects her intention to walk her highest path, facilitate heart-centered choices, and contribute to the Earth's and humanity's highest potential. Her passion is for business to become the most powerful force for creating a world where all of us can thrive. Thanks for joining us, Michele, and let's get started.
Thank you, Maggie. Okay, so our first question is the title, which is You're Making an Impact. What is your legacy? And there we go. So let's actually understand that we will be going through a variety of questions, and the first being, see you using this, do you know that the impact of every decision that you make, and do you know you're always deciding? Truth is, every decision is like a stone thrown into a lake, with the ripples reaching far and wide. We truly are that powerful. And so every morning as we're walking down the street, we can smile, or when entering the subway car, we can make room for those trying to come on. When entering the store to buy our coffee, we can hold the door for someone, or we can be annoyed at the weather for being too hot or too cold or too wet, or we can frown at the rush hour crowd or the line of people ahead of us, or get into a verbal joust with someone who bumps into us. Like the stone thrown into the lake, we decide what type of ripple effect we send to every person we encounter. Our behavior can determine how someone treats their dog, how a mother treats her child, or how a boss treats their employee. We can also determine how that dollar to someone begging on the street gives them hope or plunges them into despair. So truth is, we're always deciding and we're always creating a huge ripple effect. Also, our behavior is all we have. Our clothes can be lost in a fire. Our home and car can be lost to a natural disaster. We can lose our job. But you have absolutely no control over these events. The only real thing you own is the decisions and actions you take. And your actions are the only thing that truly reflect who you are. And so the next question is, why do we most often have a knee-jerk reaction versus what I'll call a more thoughtful response to people and stimuli around us? And whether it's the weather around us or someone speaking directly to us, we most often receive it as being done to us. We take it personally, and so our defense system feels attacked and therefore reacts to that threat to protect us. And that seems to make sense, you know? But if that quote unquote attack was actually the ripple created by the stone being thrown in the water, meaning what if someone's behavior was their behavior, whether triggered by something they experienced that morning or by something they experienced as a child? And what if their behavior was a reflection of who they are in this moment in time? and you're just feeling the ripple. Does their behavior feel slightly different to you now? Studies show remembering this does. So in that moment of recognizing the ripple, we have the power to choose whether we continue to spread the same ripple or create our own. And in that moment, we humans have the opportunity to live more consciously. Which brings us to the next question. How can we live more consciously? It begins by taking responsibility for our decisions, words, and actions. So regardless of how Donald Trump makes you feel, his words and actions are a reflection of who he is. And yes, given many people share his beliefs and agree with his words and actions, they have agreed to have him reflect who they are. And the same applies to Hillary Clinton. They both are reflecting parts of us, parts of who Americans are at this time in our history. And so we can now ask ourselves the next question. Do we want to continue writing the story we've been telling? Either yourself, ourself? And whether we choose our behavior as we walk down the street or the candidate we're choosing to vote for, both decisions reflect our story. But we've got good news here. And the good news is many of us are unhappy. Unhappy with the circumstances we live in, unhappy with the people who are representing us or will represent us. And you might be surprised for me to say it's good news, but it is because throughout history, it is when our species are confronted with crises that we change and evolve. We're compelled to. Without crisis, we just keep doing what we're doing and we stay in our comfort zones. So here we are. And the question is, how can the crisis confronting us be used as a force for transformation and be used as a force for good? Which brings us to our next question. What is the key to living a more conscious life? Being able to hit the pause button and respond versus react to the circumstances around us. To literally be the creators of the ripple we pass forward. And you might be asking, how? And the answer I offer is practice. We literally strengthen our conscious muscle with practice. Currently, a popular practice is mindfulness, which I'll define as our mind being full of our own truths with a capital T. And those truths which reflect who we authentically are, who we are at our core. And maybe the next question you're asking is, well, how do we know who that is? How do we know who we are? Just as we spend time getting to know other people, we need to spend time, and I'll call it quality time, with ourselves. Quality time that includes listening, being patient, feeling, supporting, and taking care. We allow questions to arise and we allow answers to come and be received, and we do this all within a loving space. A space we feel safe, a space we can trust, a space we can be who we are. And many of us may not have that space now, but the good news again is that with practice, like any other skill, we can create it. How do I create it? You might want to know. I use the power of love, meaning no matter what is happening, I send my heart more love, not less. So no matter what has happened before this moment, right now, send your heart more love, not less. No matter what is happening today, right now, send your heart more love, not less. And no matter what lies up ahead, send your heart more love, not less. And even in those moments when you cannot love or cannot forgive, sending your heart love ignites the power of love, and forgiving and loving is done on your behalf. Just try it and see. It's your taking that final 15-inch journey from your head mindfulness to your heart love. It's loving yourself. And self-love is the foundation of all love. All begins in the self and radiates to the world. And through you, you affect all, like the almighty ripple. And so now we come to our final question or comment. This is a time to no longer wait for something or someone to do, but for us to step up and take action. This is a time for collaboration. So we've got more good news. We were never meant to do this alone. In fact, it's a lot easier to do it together. Let me tell you a short story. In the late 80s, as the Berlin Wall came down, I was visiting a friend in Germany, and I went to Berlin. And it was amazing to see this historic event. Yet an equally historic, life-changing event occurred for me personally, because I then decided to go to Czechoslovakia. They were in the midst of their presidential election. And as I saw all the streamers and crowds forming, I asked, what's happening? And they told me, it was a presidential election. And I said, who's running? And they said, Václav Havel. And I said to myself, wait a minute, I know him. He's a poet. And as a volunteer for Amnesty International in my chapter at Columbia University, I, along with hundreds of others, wrote letter after letter to the prison where he was, asking for his release and telling them the world is watching. My letters, along with thousands of other letters, enabled this man to be released and to become the president of Czechoslovakia. So never doubt that your every decision and action makes a difference. Together, we can help each other see what we can't see. We have blind spots. Learn from our collective experiences. Complement our strengths and weaknesses. And develop a vision and wisdom that sustains all of us. Today, the crises before us are actually so large that no one can do it alone, whether it's addressing climate change, income inequality, discrimination, hunger, torture, or war. And when we come together to address these challenges, we will experience our common humanity, our interconnectedness, and the power of love to create a world where all of us thrive. So I ask you, what decision will you make today to make your impact and leave your legacy? Thank you.
Thanks, Michele. I would like to remind everyone that if you have a question for Michele, you can use the chat box or you can email info@savvyladies.org. And we had a question come in during your presentation, which is, I spin stories around in my head over and over, sometimes so much that I'm interpreting them differently because I'm overanalyzing everything. How can I get started stopping myself from telling the story again and again?
And thank you for that question. The beauty of having others on the same journey or others to support us is to stop that circular loop that can truly, and I've been there most definitely on a regular basis, and know that just the ability to find someone, and I again emphasize, who is more conscious and on the journey with you, can help you hear what you're thinking. I know that sounds, but you understand what I mean, to actually hear what you're thinking. And uh, analyze it in a different way and with greater deliberateness, again, as you're speaking it versus just having it very rapidly go through your mind. Because literally we think 1,000 thoughts per blink of the eye. So finding someone who you trust, finding someone who is experienced, finding again someone who's on this journey can truly be a wonderful mirror, not fixing nor solving that problem for you, but literally enabling you to more clearly hear what you're thinking and feeling and sort through them in a way that enables you to connect to your intuition and wisdom. That's what I do. And again, as I've said, even in this presentation, we were never meant to do this alone. It's much more difficult to do this alone. And it's time for us to come together and help each other move ahead in our lives and as a species. So I hope that helps.
Okay, thanks, Michelle. And another question we have is, do you have some suggestions to train yourself to love yourself more?
Yes, actually. And it was literally what we did together in my presentation. We have found that when we send ourselves more love, and it's could be as simple as what we did, just closing your eyes in those moments of whether it be chaos or unhappiness, to literally just send more love, not less, to your heart for just a minute. 60 seconds actually is a very powerful amount of time. Research now shows that anything we do throughout our day for literally just 60 seconds is more powerful than doing a practice longer for, say, a half hour, an hour in the morning or evening. By interspersing this throughout our day, our mind is shifted and is able to absorb that new information, those new feelings. And so I would suggest that practice, just saying, I love you, I love you, I love you, silently, or just again, feeling that love coming into your heart. Your body and your mind feels that, of course. And with practice, though in the beginning it may feel untrue or awkward because we're not accustomed to hearing and feeling, I love you, I love you, I love you, but I promise that again, with repetition and practice, that your neurons will feel more and more comfortable. Your heart will feel more and more comfortable receiving that love. And the ripple effect will begin and show up throughout your life. I certainly advocate, as I do, having a morning practice and an evening, but it need not be long. It can be 3 minutes or 11 minutes. My morning practice actually is 12 and a half minutes. Um, I'm, I'm sorry, morning is 11, evening is 12 and a half beyond what else I do. But again, more is not necessarily required to um, make this practice more impactful. In fact, more frequency, shorter, more frequent practices is what research now shows creates a greater impact and effect.
All right, thank you for that. And another question is, I'm not one to pause before responding to a situation. In my job, I have to act very quickly, but I would like to learn to respond instead of react. How can I tell myself to pause when I'm really so conditioned to react immediately?
So again, this change of behavior from react to pause requires practice. It's 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 first starting with your mind to say, yes, I've done this in the past, reacted immediately, but I'm imagining the person who asked this question is asking it because they have found those immediate reactions to not necessarily serve them long term. And so maybe that is a stimulus to help you maintain that pause, take a breath, and in that breath, have that decision be more conscious. The beauty of the pause also is allowing people to feel heard. Frequently, we're jumping on each other's words um, because definitely we're a culture of talk shows, not listen shows. But there is no greater gift we can give each other than to be heard. And so just pausing after someone speaks and having them feel that you've heard them, whether it's letting them know if you can that you have in fact heard them by saying something to them. And I apologize for the noise outside, but I'm living in Midtown Manhattan. Um, so it's enabling you to give that gift to the people around you and being more thoughtful in your response. So hopefully what I've just said, as much as it's been your conditioning and you're feeling pressured at work to have that quick reaction, start with convincing the mind that maybe that behavior no longer serves you, that having a greater or more wise response will serve you, as well as giving the gift to that person of being heard may truly serve you more than that pressure to quickly react. I would say please try it, and not only at work, but in other environments. And I believe you will see people's new response to your taking the time to thoughtfully respond to them. It's a gift.
Okay, thanks, Michelle. And I'll just share your contact information here, which we'll be emailing everyone, but in case you want to have the information here now. So I want to thank you, Michelle, for a really insightful presentation. And thanks to everyone who joined us today and asked great questions. We hope you'll be joining us again. Thanks again so much, Michelle.
And Maggie, can I just read my email address to everyone? Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so for those who would like to get in touch with me directly, I have two emails. I'll say the long one first. It's M for Michelle, just the initial M, Risa, R-I-S-A, at beyondbodymindspirit.com, or a shorter email is mrisa11 at gmail.com. Be happy, as questions may arise after this presentation, to answer them and support you.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Maggie, Lisa, and Savvy Ladies, for enabling me to share this with everyone. It's been an honor.
Thank you so much.
Okay, bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.